Welcome to Pie Guys Pick'em. Week 2 of the NFL is upon us. It was a fun week 1, except for this better. What a a little bit of a disaster on the sides. I think didn't win one. The total split, the prop split. So credit to Johnny. The best bet lost. It wasn't even close though. I mean that was over early. Who knew the Jets had an offense? I mean, I didn't think Justin Fields and the skill position talent had that in them, but they did. And but that's okay. We'll dust ourselves off and we'll get back up, and we're gonna hammer the board again this week. Talk quickly about around the league. New segment here. Unders were the trend, and of course, my best bet was the one under. One of the few unders that didn't cash. The Jets and the Steelers. I don't know if it could be that they have an emphasis on defensive holding, which can extend drives. So that could be the thing for dinner. They're also calling offensive holding, but I mean only when it's egregious. But thank goodness for that. I mean, how many times have we seen that where they don't call it and it's egregious? So unders, defensive holding were the things I really noticed this week. So with that, we have 15 games. Let's get into them, and we'll start in the Queen City, well, one of the Queen Cities, Cincinnati, Ohio, the heart of it all, where the Jaguars, coming off a beatdown of the Carolina Panthers, where I will visit. Tank Bigsby traded to Philadelphia. Travis Etienne, on the other hand, had like 200 yards rushing. The team as a whole had 200 yards rushing. He had, I believe, over 150. The Carolina Panthers defense, run defense especially, was as bad as we expected. Oh, that is wrong. Hold on. Let me just change that. That's supposed to be 49 and a half. I don't know where that came from. Must have been a typo there. My bad. But yes, 49 and a half is the total here. The Jaguars beat the Panthers. The Carolina Panthers, who had the worst rush defense by a mile last year in the league. And there's Shad Khan in the locker room celebrating like it's some kind of sea change. You know, the Jaguars are going to turn things around because they went and beat the Carolina Panthers, who were missing an offensive tackle, had a couple of, offensive linemen who are on the injury report. Who knows how healthy they were. And there they are, celebrating like it's some massive sea change. You beat the Carolina Panthers, okay? The sorry-ass Carolina Panthers. Trevor Lawrence wasn't spectacular. Okay, De'Ami Brown was pretty good. Brian Thomas Jr. was pretty good. But Liam Cohen wasn't giving the flowers to Trevor Lawrence. He was giving it to Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, some of the other guys on the team. We mentioned Tank Bigsby traded. They have enough guys in the backfield. Travis Hunter expected to get more defensive snaps this week, but that locker room smelled of fat and happy after one win over a team that doesn't have a defense. Well, guess what? As predicted last week, and a lot of you saw my reel, the Bengals have a defense. Their offense wasn't very good, but the defense kept them in it, along with the Browns kicker helped out a little bit. The Browns still don't have a kicker. Shocking. They were outgained by the Browns. The Bengals were 4.6 yards per play to 2.9 yards per play for the Bengals. But the Bengals defense got the only 2 turnovers of the game. The 2 picks of Joe Flacco. Joe Burrow was clean in terms of turning the ball over. They get a week 1 win for the first time in I can't remember how long. Rookie Demetrius Knight looked pretty good. He had 8 tackles, 2 assists. I'm hearing word that Noah Fant, former Broncos and Seahawks tight end, might see some playing time this week. And Burrow, they seem happy with them, but they know, they got to play better than that. They got away with one. The defense was better. Like I say, Al Golden comes in, Demetrius Knight, big draft pick, he comes in, and Cleveland's defense is way better than the Jags. Okay, don't get anybody twisted. Cleveland's defense is better than the Jags. Johnny in the chat, the Jags are frauds. And I agree that Sean Khan celebrating the locker room. I mean, yeah, I bet Cincinnati. I mean, how are you fat and happy after beating the Carolina Panthers? I mean, come on. I mean, I know, Bryce Young was better at the end of last season, but that defense is still horrible. And it's Cincinnati here. Cincinnati. Now the Jags go on the road, play a real team. The Browns may have been able to shut down Joe Burrow and the offense for most of that game, but they still found a way to win. And the Jaguars defense is beatable, and Joe Burrow and the Bengals are coming to town, and they should beat this defense. Bengals -3.5. First official play here for week 2 on Pieguys Pick'em. 2/3 of a unit for me. As we move on to the clown show. The Miami Dolphins. What can you say about them? Like 33-8 to Daniel Jones and the Colts. They have O-line injuries. Tyreek Hill, domestic violence cases. It sounds horrible. But the Storm Duck, we're making fun of, there's cornerback one Storm Duck. He's hurt now. So now it's like it's the guy behind Ethan Bonner, another cornerback. He's hurt. Benito Jones, he's hurt. Jalen Wright, he didn't play last week. He's hurt as well. The Dolphins have injuries. And here's the quote. I have the quote here from McDaniel. It was maddening, the things we were doing or not doing. It was not an individual unit or a phase. It was a consistent theme. The whole team was out of sync. I talked about this on Rants Rum Rouges last night. The Dolphins are dysfunctional. Okay, they're not bad because if you watched some of the that they have not been eliminated. If they lose this game, they will be eliminated. I don't think they've been eliminated just yet from playoff contention, but they're dysfunctional. Like I said, it's not that they're bad. They have players. Okay, they have a pretty good home field. Like the Patriots going to be out in the sun, and look at their opponents. The Patriots arguably played worse than the Dolphins last week. They weren't good at all. Raiders wide receivers were so wide open. They were wide open by like 3-4 yards. Like I was shocked. I should have been on the Raiders last week. I chickened out like a coward. And Josh McDaniels isn't exactly the offensive corner I trust. Mike Vrabel, okay, I don't mind Mike Vrabel as a head coach, but Christian Gonzalez, that's the key injury here. I didn't look up before the show because I made these notes yesterday. But let's just see what's going on with Mr. Gonzalez, because if he's out again, I know, I don't know if it looks like, yeah, he's out. Hamstring 2 hours ago with the Dolphins. No, Johnny, he's out. It's 2 hours ago. Christian Gonzalez hamstring out versus the Dolphins. So, the Miami receivers might be wide open. Malik Washington, Jalen Waddle, who knows what's going on with Hill. And the one thing I was looking for this week, because I knew the overreaction was coming, right, on the Dolphins being awful, right? They were just being dysfunctional last week. They did have that players-only meeting. I know you don't want to see that week 2, right? Because for the rest of it, they're too dysfunctional, in my opinion. I don't think they're going anywhere. But for this game against the Patriots are going to be on the hot sideline in September, where it's at 1 o'clock. And rookie running back Aldi Gordon expected to get more touches. Darren Waller is another mess. He might not play again, but I think for this week, the Dolphins can beat the Patriots. I don't think they've quit on the coach. Maybe a little bit, but I don't think they're going to quit on Tua. I think the players only meeting might help. Another thing, New England isn't very functional either. Remember, they cut Jabril Peppers before the season, a big shocker, and then they couldn't cover anybody or tackle anybody last week. So, I don't think that and they have kicker concerns. A kicker missed a kick, the rookie kicker for the Pats. I just, and they they did get some. The concern here is Miami's got the offensive line isn't great, and the Patriots could get some pass rush here. We know, but if Tua can get the ball quickly, I was looking. I was going to pass here, but when I saw the players only meeting, I said that's enough. I'm taking the Dolphins here -1.5. If they lose this game, they're going to be priced with the Carolina Panthers here. But if they win this game, remember it's one game, week 1 on the road. If you win this game, you're 1-1. All of a sudden, maybe the dysfunction, maybe everything's okay. But if they lose this game, I mean, the whole season, the market's going to crash. This team is going to be, I don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, if you win this game, it's okay. You got some semblance, of respect. And the Patriots are beatable. The Drake may look like he didn't know what he was like. That offense didn't look great. The pass rush was good, but there's no coverage. Like I said, guys were wide open. Miami can take advantage of those things. Tua knows how to get the ball out quick. If guys are wide open in the flat, he's going to dink and dunk his way down the field all game to Waddle, maybe Hill, and Malik Washington and some of these other guys. D. Eskridge, maybe we see D. Eskridge get involved. So give me the Fins, 2/3 of a unit. Miami -1.5. I'm betting on the Clowns. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I think this is a spot where the market's still keeping Miami favorite. Some of the sharps like the Fins here, and I get why. You're at home here. The Patriots, and it's a horrible spot for New England after that debacle last week. All right, we move along. Niners, Saints. Niners only 3-point favorites now in the Big Easy. The total is 40.5. Obviously, the big news, Brock Purdy is out for 2 to 5 weeks with turf toe. The Niners were so lucky to beat the Seahawks last week. Woolen should have intercepted that pass from the touchdown pass, but Tunges, or I think his name Tunges, came down with it. The backup tight end. The Kittle got hurt. Oh, who mentioned in the pre-show? I gotta give myself a pat on the back. I said take Bowers and McBride. The rest of the tight ends are the same because Kittle's gonna get hurt. Well, I didn't want him. I didn't want him to get hurt, but it's just inevitable with him. It feels like, and again, he's hurt. The Mac Jones era begins here. And this is there's a sneaky angle here because remember when the 49ers traded up for the 3rd overall pick a few years ago where they ended up taking Trey Lance, Kyle Shanahan wanted to take Mac Jones. So, this is Kyle Shanahan. If he can work this out with Mac Jones for these few weeks while Purdy's hurt, maybe, he can kind of show, hey, I was right. Look what would have happened. So, this is kind of Kyle Shanahan getting to show what he's going to do. Obviously, it's going to have to be McCaffrey and Pearsall here. Jennings, I think, is still a little bit dinged up. Kittle's gone, and the Ayuk is still out for a bit. So, Jones, I think there's going to be a lot of Christian McCaffrey this week. And the Saints weren't that bad last week. Spencer Rattler was decent. Obviously, they have Olave and Kamara at the skill position players. I just want to quickly look at the injury report because Chase Young, it sounded like he wasn't going to play, and that is a big deal for the Saints because he had, I think, a top 5 pressure rate or top 5 number of pressures in the league. Chase Young is out, guard, tackle, Trevor Penning is out, and safety Julian Blackman is out. So those are some key injuries on the Saints. I'm not betting this game. I mean, you could if you think like, oh, the Saints are just so bad, it doesn't matter that Mac Jones is a quarterback. You can go take the Niners, but you can also argue that Rattler wasn't that bad, and now the Niners have to start Mac Jones, who does even know the offense. If the Saints can just stack the box and take away McCaffrey and eke out a win here. But yeah, Johnny, the CMC props is probably the way to go. If you want to bet this game, just bet your McCaffrey props. I'm staying far away. And the total went way down, and I get it because the news came in, and a lot of people, I don't really want to bet the New Orleans Saints. Why don't we just take the under? Makes sense to me. But yeah, I missed the boat there, so we will move on to a game. These Baltimore Ravens, these rabble-rousing Ravens, choked the game away again. I was like, I had a bad day in the NFL on Sunday. I had a bad day, but I really feel strong about this Ravens bet. They come out, they look fantastic. Derrick Henry's a monster. They're cooking the Bills' defense. Okay, the Bills are scoring a little bit, but we knew that was going to happen. You're up 15 with 4 minutes left, and we know what happened. The fumble. But see, it's beyond the fumble. The fumble I can live with. Fumbles happen. The ball gets stripped. The ball falls out. It can be it's sports. There's variance. Sometimes it just pops out. It happens. I get that. It's what happened after the fumble. Okay, Bills go down and score. You stop the 2-point conversion. You're still up 2. I had -1. They win by 2. We're covering. It's wonderful. And what do? They run with Henry. That's fine. First down. Second, they do that little Zay Flowers in around. And instead of going to get yards and going out of bounds, I get it. You want to run the clock, but you're playing Josh effing Allen here. I mean, what is going on? You have to understand. He's going to score. You have to end the game. You give him the ball back. The Bills going to kick a field goal. I don't care if Matt Prater, Matt Ariza, Matt Hardy kicking the ball. They're going to find a way to score because Josh Allen was just on fire. And you have to understand that as a coach. You can't punt the ball. Punting the ball is conceding the game, in my opinion. You ran the end around. I get it. You're supposed to go down and bounce, but you got to get the yardage. You got to keep going. You need a first down to win. You don't get that first down. Allen's coming back and he's going to whoop your ass. Okay, and that's exactly what he did. And a guy that they signed off the street last week kicks the game-winning field goal. Matt Prater, good for him. And then even you go down and then you run another play and then it's 4th and 3. You got to go for it. I mean, this is enough. This is ridiculous. You have to read the situation. The situation said you don't punt there because you're going to lose if you punt, and they lost. And Humphrey was calling out the defense, all the way admitting they took their foot off the gas. Kyle Hamilton was wanting to throw up. These guys are going to be motivated. These guys are going to be ready to go. And Cleveland played pretty well. We talked about this against the Bengals. But here come the moron Browns, as if Baltimore's not already upset. Grant Delpit has to come out and be a moron and say, oh, it's easy to tackle Derrick Henry and start poking the bear. Like, you gotta be kidding me. Like the Ravens are doubting themselves. They're pissed off they lost. You could go up, you could take the ball, go down with Joe Flacco and score, and and sort of like get in their head a little bit. No, you're going to poke the bear. You're going to poke Derrick Henry. I hope Derrick Henry wipes your face with a nice stiff arm and puts you on the ground tomorrow for being a moron. And why would you poke the bear? You know how you beat the Ravens. The Ravens beat themselves. Okay, now they have a reason to they're not going to take you lightly. You're 12-point dogs, and you're going to lose by 22. Give me the Ravens -11.5. All right. The Browns, they played a great game last week. They're not stopping this offense, okay? And Joe Flacco, I think the defense is going to be all over him. I don't think they're going to hit him too hard because, it's Joe Flacco, Ravens legend. But, I mean, and you got Conklin, Ward, the Denzel Ward, the cornerback, and DeJuan Jones, light practice or limited practice on Thursday. How they might be a little bit banged up. And Joe Flacco's going to throw his interceptions. I guarantee after what happened last week, the Ravens are going to come down with it. The Ravens aren't going to sit back. They're going to run up the score here. I'm comfortable. Usually I don't like laying a big number with the Ravens. But in this situation, they're pissed off. And then you got Grant Delpit opening his big mouth. And even the more reason to be pissed off. Yeah, they're going to come here and they're going to look for blood at home. And they're going to pump the Browns here. Give me the Ravens 11.5. And they better not blow. I mean, if they win by 10, whatever, you lose. When you lay the points, I get it. But if they lose outright, who knows what's going to happen? Anyways, Giants, Cowboys. Cowboys 5.5-point favorites. The total is 44.5 here with the G-Men and the Cowboys. The Cowboys, one of the pleasant surprises week one, especially their offense. Dak Prescott looked very, very good. I know CeeDee Lamb dropped a few passes. That was the difference in the ballgame. They showed they can hang with the likes of the Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champions. To a couple, Lamb catches one or two of those balls, and you upset the Super Bowl champs there on the road. And now Deron Bland, that kind of sucks. The injury there looks like he's going to miss a few weeks. So that's interesting. But this is another spot where this is a spot here where just like the last one, it's an 0-1 team, and just like Miami, it's an 0-1 team at home as a favorite against a team they can beat where there's urgency. And the Cowboys have won 8 straight against the Giants, so they've covered 6 of the 8. And I think they've won by at least 5 in all of them. So you need to win by 5, 6 here. So, but I mean, the Giants looked horrible. I mean, they look like the worst team in the NFL. They looked worse than the Saints, the Browns, whoever team you can, the Bears, whoever team you can name here. Like the fact you have to go to the media and confirm that Russell Wilson is starting this week is a bad sign already. I mean, that tells me that Russ might be done. And Andrew Thomas is doubtful. Their best offensive lineman. Now, Dallas doesn't have much of a pass rush. They looked pretty good. Like, they looked good against the Eagles. And they got extra time to prepare here. They played on Thursday. The Dallas offensive line looked pretty good. I know Carter got the boot early because he decided to pull a Carlito and spit in people. But I think that the Cowboys O-line can hold up. Dexter Lawrence I believe it was just rest. I think he's going to play. Wan'Dale Robinson looks like he's going to play, or he's questionable. And then somebody's out. I just looked at this. Who's out here? Somebody's out. I'm just gonna double check. Oh, it's Flanagan Fowles. Okay, he's out. And then another defensive lineman, one deputy lineman doubtful. But Neighbors is in. Neighbors on the injury report with the back. You don't want to see that. I mean, that's your best player. Yeah, give me the Cowboys. Cowboys own the Giants. They're at home. They're looking good. They're off a loss. So the 0-1 team's a home favored, probably going to win. And Dallas right now, might be changed right now. They're the survivor pick for myself this week. All right, let's move to an AFC North battle. Chicago Bears, Detroit Lions. Lions 6.5 point favorites. The total here 46.5. Now, I mentioned earlier a lot of unders last week. So many so that I'm not betting any overs this week. I'm just I'll wait for the overs to come before we take overs. No, I'm not going to hesitate when I like an under, but I think I'm going to stay away from the overs for a little bit because with the defensive holding and some of these drive extending penalties, and fourth and people going for a fourth and short and not converting, I could see a lot more unders for at least another week. So stay away. When the overs start to come, maybe I'll start looking at some overs. But right now, I think I'm going to stay away because this is an over candidate here. The way the Bears defense just got picked apart in the fourth quarter, and see an update on Mr. Jalen Johnson here, as he's always a very important contributor to the Bears defense. The Lions, they didn't look great against the Packers, right? The offense not looking great was like the big thing, but then you look at what the Packers did last night to Washington, it's like, okay, maybe the Packers defense is just that good. But they were dominated by Green Bay. And they hadn't been dominated like that for a bit. Taylor Decker is questionable. Lions offensive tackle. Kirby Joseph is questionable. He popped up late. That's not a good sign. And then a couple of depth players as well. Jalen Johnson's going to play. Okay, that's a big deal for the Bears. Their number one corner, very, very good cornerback. The Lions offense coordinator is not panicking. He thinks the run game's an easy fix. He thinks maybe he saw something week. But, it's 1 week. A lot of these teams, this was last week was like week 4 of the preseason. So, I could see Detroit's offense bouncing back here. And the defense, they held Green Bay to 266 total yards, but it was a pretty good beatdown. Like, that game was over early. The Bears, on the other hand, should have won their game. I mean, I had a small play on the Bears on Monday night, and it looked pretty good for 3 quarters. And then, of course, McCarthy has to go and score 3 fourth quarter touchdowns, and then put a dagger in the hearts of me and the hearts of the Bear faithful. Poor Bears fans. I mean, it looked like oh, here we go. Defense looks pretty good. Caleb's not making the dumb mistakes. McCarthy throws a pick 6. And you still lose. The Vikings, but they did outgain the Vikings 317 to 254 yards. More mismanagement with Santos not kicking out of bounds there. I mean, that was, yeah, I know, it's a long field, but you got to get, even if you have to kick it in the corner and take the penalty, like you cannot let that clock tick. And they did. It looks like Kyle Monagai, we'll talk about this in the fantasy update in a minute, will be the running back 1 this week is what I'm hearing. So if you have him, he's worth a start. The defense, even without you, at least defense was pretty good till the third quarter, but a lot of that was the Vikings offense just wasn't clicking. And then when it did, the defense didn't look very good. But again, Jalen Johnson's back, so I'm not betting this game. I mean, it's too many points. The Bears have given the Lions trouble consistently. I would only take the Bears. But I think the Lions might smash them here. This is a Dan Campbell step-up game. They're at home. Green Bay's pretty good. The Vikings, we're still incomplete grade on them right now. So pass. And we will move on to West Rutherford, New Jersey, where the Jets, another surprise offensively, where they were able to put up 32 points last week. But unfortunately, their defense got cooked by 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. That's not great. They outgained the Steelers, though. They had 94 yards of offense for the New York Football Jets. I mean, when's the last time they had that? 271 for the Steelers. 6.4 yards per play for the Jets to 5 for the Steelers. I mean, the difference was that fumble by Xavier Gibson, and unfortunately he got cut for that. I mean, I guess it's a statement maker, but in the same time, I mean, they kind of snatched the kick returner Isaiah Williams from Cincinnati, so maybe it was an excuse to cut Gibson. It kind of looked like it was kind of like a 2 birds with 1 stone. I think they had their eye on this Bengals kick returner, so when they cut Gibson, it was like we're gonna make a statement, but in reality, they wanted the Bengals kick returner. Tanner Ringsford, the new offensive coordinator, looked pretty good. We have Tufale's out. He is an illness, and then Josh Reynolds has a hamstring. So those 2 players, I believe, are out. I think everybody else is in for the Jets. The Bills, we talked about that game where Josh Allen was just ridiculous. Another player was ridiculous, Ed Oliver, who had a big sack. It was a big tackle for loss on Henry earlier in the game. Then, of course, the strip of Henry that turned the whole game around. He's out this week with an ankle injury. My goodness. I mean, maybe the second best player on the Bills Deion Dawkins obviously is very, very good, but what top player on the Bills, that defense, Baltimore was cooking against that defense until they, choked it away. If they had just played standard offense, maybe they beat the Bills, but I think the Jets are like, this is a game I want to bet the over, but I missed the number. It was 46.5. It's now 47.5. Like the Jets team total would be what, 20, 21 and a half. But I know my team total record was awful last year, so maybe we stay away. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a half unit shot here on the Jets plus the points, because if the game goes over, probably means both teams contributed. But yeah, I'll probably, for sure, I'm going to put a half unit on the Jets. I think this is a rough spot for Buffalo. I think the Jets can give them trouble here. The Buffalo struggled here. That was a big Sunday night game. They're not going to go play the Jets. You know what I mean? It's not exactly bulletin board material. So I think I will play a half unit on the Jets plus 6.5. I might play the over if I can get a cheap 47 or maybe it ticks back down. We get some sharp action. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm like I said, I'm not running to bet overs this week for sure. But this is the game that I was really looking at the over, but I missed the number because I wanted to be more cautious with the under trends that we saw. So yeah, half unit shot, at least a half unit shot on the Jets here. All right, we move along to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where the Seattle Seahawks are coming to visit with Mike McDonald and that very, very good defense. The defense was as advertised last week. I know they allowed 380-something yards to the 49ers, 17 points. They got their interceptions on Purdy. They were outgained only 5.3 to 4.6 yards, but still, 0.7 is pretty big. But Sam Darnold only had 150 yards and 124 of them went to Jackson Smith and Jigba. So Cooper Kupp was a ghost out there. Torrey Horton didn't even get targeted. I think they got to get him in the offense. I mean, at some point. I mean, he was electric in the preseason, Torrey Horton. I said to pick him up last week. You can still pick him up. He's probably not owned. I think I'm going to hold him for one more week. San Francisco had the ball for 38 minutes. And defensive injuries for the Seahawks now this week. That Julian Love, Jaron Reed, Devin Witherspoon, and Nick Emanawari all didn't practice on Thursday. Let's see if we have the update today. But I mean, those are 4 impact names. And if you have Zach Charbonnet, like I do in the league, if you drafted Zach Charbonnet, I think he's going to be RB1. So yeah, Witherspoon's doubtful. And Emanawari's out, the safety. Oh, it looks like Julian Love's going to play. So, all right, and Jaron Reed. So just the 2 injuries, but Witherspoon's a big one because Woolen was, I said he should have picked off that last ball. The Steelers side, they stole one a little bit. We talked about the Jets game where they were outgained at 1.4 yards per play and 123 yards. And that fumble on special teams matters. And we know the Steelers have excellent special teams. They've got that. I can't remember his name, the coach. And Rogers is believing in his left tackle. He's saying Broderick Jones. So, I'm a little worried here about the Seattle pass rush getting to Rogers but he was mobile last week. He was very, he was impressive. I expected much less considering I had the under. They scored 34 points. DK Metcalf against his former team. Maybe that's a little bit of an angle. But the Steelers also have some defensive injuries. And let's see. Scroll down here. Yeah, they're all out. Derek Harmon, Deshaun Elliott, and Joey Porter Jr., defensive tackle, safety, and cornerback, respectively, all out for the Steelers. So the totals tick down. Maybe this is a buyback if you think Rodgers can do it again. I'm not betting over with Seattle and Sam Darnold right now. They don't have an offense, so. The defense just keep me off the under, and I like at 3. Like Steelers probably win this game by 3 or 2. Like remember they won by 2 last week. So lay with the Steelers at your own. I would only take Seattle, but it's a pass for me. All right, it is time for the fantasy update. So I talked about Torrey Horton a minute ago. I still think if you picked him up last week, I think it's worth a hold. If you haven't picked him up. Maybe, at some point, Sam Darnold's going to spread the ball around, right? So, Torrey Horton, I think, is a good one. Obviously, I benched Jaden Daniels in the league. I have him and Kyler Murray because Kyler Murray is playing the Panthers. That was a good thing. So, yeah, all your Cardinals, I think, are starts this week. The Carolina Panthers, not very good. Likely is out for Baltimore, and I believe the fullback is out. Where are my Baltimore notes here? Somebody else is out. So, yeah, Mark Andrews is probably a pretty good start this week. The Bengals had a rough week 1. You start them again. Jacksonville's defense is horrid. Your Dolphins, like I said, New England couldn't cover anybody. So, I think the Dolphins player should be fine. I think it's pretty much no-brainer starting with him. Oh, Keon Coleman is a trade for / I know the waivers passed, but that would have been like somebody if he wasn't taken. You put your waiver on. If people dropped any sort of guys like that were ranked high, and you have somebody you want to cut, I'd pick them up. That's kind of if anyone overreacted and cut somebody that they shouldn't have cut, go get them. That's kind of like the week 2 thing. There was no real big like target week 2. I mean, unless Keenan Coleman was available, like nobody really like stood out as an under sort of week. So we'll see what happens. Obviously I benched Ridley last week because he's facing Sertan. If you can trade for him because people think he's not very good. I think like, if you play Patrick Sertan, I mean he's the top corner of the league. So I think there's and the Bengals defense might be if they start putting on another performance like they did last week, somebody might snag. If you don't have a defense, like I have the Broncos defense in both my leagues. I drafted them high. I value the week 1 like matchup, so I tend to draft defenses a little bit earlier, especially when I think like everyone else is kind of hit and miss. So oh, and Darren, I mean Darren Waller, who knows if he's going to play ever again? So I don't know if anything interesting. See, not much, for week 1 of fantasy, not much news or like pickups worthy people. Obviously, Eckler got hurt, so maybe Christian Rodriguez could be worth a pickup for the Commanders. He could get RB, and they like to split carries, so that could be interesting. Michael Mayer, if you have Bowers, Michael Mayer might be worth a pickup to as a handcuff because Bowers got dinged up last week, and if he gets dinged up again, obviously you're 49. I think it's the Saints. So, like, do you start Pearsall? Probably. I mean, I know it's Mac Jones, but Mac Jones might be if you I mean, there's probably enough quarterbacks to go around. I mean, like they didn't do much last week, so maybe Mac Jones. Take a look at Mac Jones for things. So, yeah, Jeremy's not here. He's busy. So that was my little mini fantasy update. As we move along to Rams Titans. Rams, 5.5 point road favorites. The total is 41.5. We'll get to Johnny's prop report. It's still coming up. Johnny's prop report is coming up. We will get to it in 3 games because a lot of them are in these next 3 games. So I moved it down the board a little bit. The Rams won a defensive battle against the Texans. That was one of my better bets of the week, the under in that game. One of the few winners, but we got a couple. And that and the Bengals under. Defensive battle, and Stafford looked fine, and that was it's a violent, nasty pass rush by the Texans. But whose pass rush looked even better? The Los Angeles Rams pass rush. Oh my goodness, Jared Verse and the boys there absolutely tearing up the house, the offensive line. It looks like Steve Avila is going to miss last I checked, but I think everybody else is good to go on the Rams offensive line. Nakua took a nasty hit. He was okay though, and his teammates were really proud of him for that. They were 2 of 13 on third down, but they outgained the Texans by 0.6 yards per play, and they shut him out in the second half. I mean, and Colby Parkinson, the second string tight end, is doubtful too. So Avila and Parkinson, Avila's a big one, but the Titans pass rush was definitely the highlight of their cover. If you got the late number against the Broncos. But they only had 2.4 yards per play. The Broncos had 4.5. So it was a slow game. The Broncos turned the ball over 4 times, and the Titans still lost. I mean, and the Titans coaches might be bad. Like, I mean, like they were 2-15 against the spread last week or last year, 4-13 or 3-14. So that tells me that their players graded out pretty well. They just can cover because their coaches aren't good. I think that's what I mean. Like, they were putting Ward in like dumb situations. Like, they're having him drop back all day. Like, rookie quarterback. Let's get the run game involved. Let's throw some, short passes. Let's get some, get some rhythm going on the offense. Get your quarterback comfortable. He was getting, ripped apart back there. And they had 13 penalties for 131 yards. That doesn't exactly give me confidence in the coaching staff. So, like I said, the pass rush looked pretty good. The defense as a whole looked pretty good. I mean, they did a good job, best they could. But, I mean, the offense was just putrid. Oh, we have cat interference here. Quandre Diggs, J.C. Latham, the offensive lineman, and Devondre Sweat all didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday. I think they're all out. Latham's out. Sweat is out. And Diggs looks like he had a full practice or a full participant today, so he will play. We have a Kevin Winston Jr. and Caleb Mullings are both double. I believe those are depth pieces. Definitely the running back, but yeah. So I have the Rams are good. Like it's the same handicap as last week. Okay, Titans don't have an offense. The Texans don't have an offense. The Rams have a really really good defense. They have a good offense and they could score, but we know what McVay does in these games. He runs the clock and makes sure he gets home with the win. He's the he knows how to play these games smart. No one's going to get hurt. We're going to run the ball. Stafford make a few passes here and there. We don't want Jeffrey Simmons in the backfield. So the Rams are probably going to have to come out with a conservative game plan. They're probably going to win this game like 20 to 15 or 20 to 10, but I don't know if they're going to cover, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's why I just under 41 and a half. I mean, the Titans don't have an offense right now. I mean, it was real bad, and the Rams have a defense. So you can lay it with the Rams if you want. It's definitely not my. I was thinking about it. It's definitely a Survivor play, but I prefer taking home teams on Survivor. So, yeah, give me the under here, under 41 and a half. I got a 42, but 41 and a half is fine. As we move along, Denver Broncos, Indianapolis Colts. Broncos 1.5 point favorites. The total is 43 and a half. Look, so this is the market move that I don't get. Okay. The money's coming into the Colts here. I think it should be at least 3. I like Denver as a team. They turned over the ball 4 times. Bo Nix looked rusty. But I mean, the defense was excellent. They dominated Tennessee. Like, they still outgained them by 2 yards per play. It's not like they were slouches. Evan Ingram looks like he's going to play. Like I said, I think people are just stuck that Bo Nix didn't look good, but it looked more like rust. It didn't look like Drake May out there. He looked like he didn't know what he was doing. Bo Nix was a little rusty. A couple of turnovers, a couple of miscues. It's not like he didn't know the offense. And on the other hand, the Colts look, like $1 million, 33-8, because they beat the dysfunctional clown show in Miami. Like, Miami was so out of sync that they probably would have lost the college football team that game. I mean, Daniel Jones is still Daniel Jones. Let's not forget. They do have very, very good skill position players who took advantage of the Dolphins' banged up secondary. I mean, the Dolphins have the worst secondary in the league, maybe, and the Broncos might have the best. I mean, you're going from 0 to 100 here in the wrong direction. So, and there's a cluster injury on cornerback here. Jalen Jones and Shavarius. I think Shavarius Ward has already been ruled out. Jalen Jones, I'm not sure about, but cluster injury at cornerback. I mean, Bo Nix throws those. If he starts to throw some of those bombs, I'm going to trust Cortland Sutton and some of his Troy Franklin and some of his other receivers. So yeah, Jalen Jones is out. And Shavarius Ward is out. It's cluster injury at corner, and Latu is questionable. So, yeah, I like the Broncos here quite a bit. I got the money line minus 120 just to win the game. The Colts are like they beat Miami. Like I said, they beat the clown show. Good job. You got your win. Now you got to go play a real team. I know it's at home, but the Denver is still a much better team on paper, in my opinion, especially on defense. So Broncos for me. Broncos on the money line minus 120. All right, let's head down to the desert. Arizona Cardinals, Carolina Panthers. We talked about the Panthers. Their defense is just as bad as we expected. But the offense was bad too. I mean, the offensive line wasn't any good. They did get 113 on the ground, but they're missing the tackle at Quana. He's questionable. We got to keep an eye on him. If you're betting this game, the guards, they're still, they're not 100%, but they're out there playing. They only had 4 penalties, 35 yards. They're 8-15 on third down, but 3 turnovers. Those are killer. I mean, you're a bottom feeding team like Carolina Panthers. You can't turn the ball over 3 times. Like, Denver, I get it. They had four, pretty good, or sorry, four turnovers, two fumbles, two picks, and still won the game. I mean, they were playing the Tennessee Titans, don't have an offense. Panthers are playing the Jaguars, who have a run game. So, I mean, everybody has a run game against Carolina Panthers. We talked about this, the best rush defense in the league, whoever's playing the Carolina Panthers that week. That's the best collective rush defense. So, and then it's a back-to-back road to start the season. So, I mean, Carolina's not a bet. But, I mean, was Arizona impressive? I mean, the stats show they were toe-to-toe with the Saints. I mean, the Saints and Spencer Rattler outgained the Cardinals 315 to 276 yards. Outgained by them by 0.1 yards per play, 4.6 to 4.5. Now, Arizona won the rushing battle and the turnover battle, and that was the difference in the game. But Kyler Murray was sacked 5 times. And we have tight end Tip Riemann, who no one, I didn't even know who this guy was this morning, but I read up on him, and he's very, very important in the run game. And we want to use the Panthers. We want to run the football because they stink against the run. So it's kind of a low-key sus injury. And then Cody Simon, linebacker, is also out for the Cardinals. The Cardinals didn't impress me at all. Not laying 7 with Arizona. I know if you laid 6 last week, you got the money. Good for you. If you want to go back to the well with them, it's a similar situation. They're playing another bad team for the AFC South. This time it's at home. But, I mean, yeah, it's the Panthers here could – I have a feeling they could keep it close a little bit, just because the Saints were able to move the football a little bit. So the Panthers, the offense, I think, is a little bit better than the Saints' offense. The Panthers' defense is worse. But, Arizona's going to have to run the ball here. And the Panthers, like the way the Saints were able to stay in the game, they sacked Murray 5 times. The Panthers don't have a pass rush. But it's too many points to Arizona. They only beat the Saints by 7. It's going to come down to the wire again, and it's going to be close. So, I don't like the cover for sure. I think it's going to be close. They could go out there and rout them. It's Carolina Panthers, but not with my money. It's a pass for me. Better spots on the board, and we will move to before the Super Bowl rematch, the prop report. Everybody's favorite part of Johnny, the prop man. Fortunately, could be here today. He's out supporting his Toronto Blue Jays. So we will have, but I have his picks, and similar to last week, Marion Hampton over 56.5 rushing yards. Calvin Ridley not playing in Sertan anymore, over 54.5 receiving yards. Johnny actually got it early in the week, 45.5. What a great bet that was! But 54, he still likes it up to 60. Trey McBride. Playing the Carolina Panthers, over 60.5 receiving yards. Colts tight end Tyler Warren, over 40.5 receiving yards, which makes sense because Denver has very, very good corners. Maybe attack the linebackers in coverage a little bit instead. And then Zach Charbonnet, I mentioned earlier, probably the RB1 now. I'm starting him this week. If you have him, you should start him too. Zach Charbonnet over 11.5 rushing attempts. And he had 12 last week. And I think he's going to get more. I think he's going to get more this week because he was a better running back. So Johnny's prop report will scroll along the bottom there for a bit. And we will move on to the Super Bowl rematch. Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles. Chiefs road underdogs. My goodness. When's the last time this happened? I can't remember. It's been a while. Chiefs road underdogs here. The Eagles are 1.5 point road favorites in Arrowhead with totals 47. The Eagles are off extra rest coming off the bye week, or coming off the Thursday win. Sorry, not the bye week. The stats are pretty even against Dallas, so it wasn't impressive. Obviously, Jalen Carter got booted for spitting. We talked about that earlier, trying to be Carlito. 9 penalties for 110 yards. I got to clean that up. They came out too hot. This is why we don't bet against teams on banner nights. They're too emotional, and you get these 9 penalties for 110 yards kind of games, and then people ejected for spitting and stupid stuff like that. I mean, just a brain dead right in front of the referee. He should be spitting to begin with, but right in front of the referee on top of that. Goddard and Shipley didn't practice Thursday. I don't think they're going to play. Shipley, I believe he's out. And Dallas Goedert, of course, is probably the bigger one. But I mean, that's why they went and got what's his name? Tank Bigsby. Tank Bigsby comes in from the Jags. It's a good pickup. They don't want to run. Yeah, Goddard's rolled out. Okay, they don't want to run Saquon into the ground. He's a good running back. Excuse me. They didn't give up much. I think they give him 4th or 5th round pick. So a running back round pick. Yeah, it looks like the offensive line is going to be fine, and Jalen Carter was not suspended, so he will play in this game. Now the Chiefs have a little bit of a cluster injury at wide receiver. Xavier Worthy's doubtful. Jalen Royals is out again. Hollywood Brown looks like he's going to play, but he was even on the injury report, and Rice obviously suspended. So it was Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce and backups. So maybe that's why the Lions moved to Philly. Mahomes was sacked 6 times in the Super Bowl by the Eagles, but the Eagles didn't get much pressure on Dallas. Obviously, Carter was ejected, but their plan is to get the pressure on Mahomes, which should be your plan. I mean, you can't let top quarterback in the league have a sandwich back there and pick you apart. But the stats were pretty even in the Chargers game. An uncharacteristic 10 penalties for 71 yards for the Chiefs. I don't know, we know the ref effect with Kansas City. At home, they tend to get the calls, so I doubt we're going to see that. But is this the time where the variances, because Kansas City was 15-2 or something last year? They didn't deserve to be 15-2. They probably deserve to be more, 10-7, 11-6 range when you look at the Pythag wins. So is this the time where the variance is going to come back and bite Kansas City in the arse here? And then we have Gronk thinking that they're going to fold when they get punched in the face, and the Eagles will punch in the face. The Eagles are, physical squad. Eagles are the better team, but the spot is a Chiefs spot. I mean, outside of the extra rest, I mean, the Chiefs have urgency. They're the 0-1 team at home. Chiefs are Super Bowl revenge, and they have home field, like I mentioned. I lean Chiefs, but cluster injury wide receiver. Not interested. I think I'll pass this one. Watch as a fan. I mean, it's a Super Bowl rematch. You don't need a bet on this game. Watch, learn, because like I said, I'm worried at the beginning of the season about the Chiefs, but this isn't a spot I want to fade them. And you're not getting value. It's not like before. Like you used to play a mass. Like Kansas City is an underdog. I mean, you got to lay points against them or lay chalk on the money line. Like, no, thank you. It's not the value we were seeing a few years ago betting against the Chiefs. Move along. Sunday night football. Falcons Vikings. Falcons 3.5 point road underdogs here. The total is, what's the total? 44.5. I didn't write that down. So the big news here is that the Falcons got all the injury breaks. Mooney, London are in. They have a couple of defensive guys out, but for the most part, they're those are the two big ones. Elijah Wilkins is still going to start right tackle because McGreary is on IR out for the season, and Storm Norton is still hurt. So we have meowing in the background. Maybe it's not the same as the dog, but maybe Onyx likes the dog. They're the cat in this scenario. And the Vikings on the other side, Darrisaw's out. Blake Cashman and Ty Chandler Ty Chandler's whatever, but Blake Cashman's on IR. Ryan Kelly's going to play, but Jeff Okudah's out, and Andrew Van Ginkel, star defensive end, out for the Vikings. They are weak in the trenches here. Injuries galore in the trenches for the Vikings. And the money's coming. The 3.5s are starting to get juicy here. And I went and bet the Falcons as soon as I saw the injury news this afternoon here. I immediately went and bet the Falcons for 2/3 of a unit. Young Hoku, if he misses a field goal and they lose by 3, you cover a 3.5 here. There's 3.5 juice across boards. There is a threes popping up, so bet that quick if you want to tail or if you like the Falcons yourself. The Falcons signed Parker Romo, kicker. Young Hoku. I mean, he did it again. Kickers matter, man, especially these tightly lined games. So it's a little worrisome. The Falcons here, but I mean, they were the better team against Tampa, with the exception of Young Hoku. And the Vikings, they were awful for 3 quarters, and look, they were going to lose till McCarthy. When McCarthy threw that pick 6, but then the Bears went and took 127 yards of penalties. McCarthy had 3 fourth quarter touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. Yeah, I mean the Vikings came back from the brink of defeat, and they signed Taki. That's interesting. Brian Flores' old friend from New England there. Yeah, I bet the Falcons. Just injuries. The injury news for the Vikings came back bad. They could eke this one out, but 3.5 is too many points here, in my opinion. Atlanta against the 0-1 team here. They're going to have urgency. They just lost to their divisional rival. In the game, they probably should have at least went to overtime. So I think the Falcons, it's an injury bet on Pieguy's Pick'em. All right, we have 2 Monday Night Football games, and we'll wrap it up with the best bet here. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Houston Texans. Houston's 2.5-point favorites. The total's 42.5. No shocker here. Houston doesn't have Houston's offense is C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, and I guess Nick Chubb. The offensive line isn't very good. C.J. Stroud had no time to throw the football. The Rams were all over him, and that led to fumble and interception and no touchdowns and the Rams shutting them out in the second half. They outrushed the Rams, but only because, they have a mobile quarterback. I think a lot of that was like the Stafford's not rushing for any yards, and I think Stroud had a few scrambles there. But their defense might be the best in the NFL. I mean, this defense is fantastic. And what does that add up to? It adds up to a dead nuts under team. And look at Tampa. I mean, they're banged up on offense. So Wirfs, I mean, I know Todd Bowles, was speculating he might play. He's not playing. I don't think he's playing. Young Hoku handed Tampa the game. We just talked about that. The offense and the rushing attack in particular could not get going without Liam Cohen there. Bucky was kind of shut down by the Falcons. Falcons did a pretty good job of shutting down Bucky, which is why it could be on the up and up there. I don't trust McKay Morris, but Goddard and Millen still out. Tackle Luke Goedeke and is also likely to be out. There's rumors that the Bucks might trade for the Dolphins defensive end Jalen Phillips. I could see that happening because the Dolphins are probably going nowhere slowly or quickly, depending on what happens this week. But yeah, I see the Bucks offense is going to struggle against this ridiculous, like Will Anderson and this Houston defense. The Houston offense is going to struggle because it's 2 star players, Nick Chubb and a bunch of guys. The Houston's a dead nuts under team. We need the under again. 42.5 is too high. This should be probably 40. It's probably like Texans unders probably for a while until the offense figures something out. But yeah, if Bijan, Tampa did a good job against Bijan Robinson, winning and holding him pretty much in check. So they can do the same with Nick Chubb and double Collins, and that's the whole Texans offense. So this could look silly high like it did last week. Like, this could be like a 13-7 game or something. I wouldn't be shocked on Monday Night Football. But we have a second Monday Night Football. This one's gonna be, and I kind of like the over in this one, but again, I'm staying off these overs. Justin Herbert looked fantastic in Brazil. Maybe he needs to play more games in Brazil. And Joe Alt was great. The offensive line was great. They did a good job giving Herbert the protection. Quentin Johnston, oh my God, Quentin Johnston game, 2 touchdowns. My goodness, was it the climate? Was it the good stuff in Brazil? I don't know what happened. My goodness, what a game from Quentin Johnston. I mean, he was probably the biggest waiver wire pickup this week. If he's going to, if Vlad's going to be covered and this guy's figuring out how to catch. But injuries on defense. Denzel Perryman and Deshaun Phillips didn't practice Thursday. You're your two linebackers. And what are the Raiders' strengths? Tight end and running game. So I think it's going to be I think the Raiders might have success here. But I mean, like I said, the Raiders receivers are so wide open, and Geno still got sacked 4 times by the Pats. So, it was a win against New England, but it wasn't. They didn't wow anybody. New England was just kind of bad. I mean, I'm betting against Miami against New England. So that tells you what I think about New England this week. So, but Geno and company look pretty good. He can only play in front of you. Brock Bowers and Landon Roberts in practice on Thursday. I think Bowers is going to go, which is why I think if you want this over, you got to bet it soon. Because I think once he's announced in, this might take up to 47. But if I'm going to wait here, we'll see what happens. I think I'm going to stay off the Chargers just because of the injuries, the linebacker, because I think that's an area the Raiders might be able to exploit with Browers, Mayer, and Genty. So that's kind of their strength, that middle of the field with the tight ends. So it was a sloppy game in New England. Maybe they get a little better, and Pete Carroll was going to get these guys up to play. So they had 9 penalties, 77 yards also in that New England game. So another pass to end it, but we had a lot of bets this week. That'll do it for the show. Follow me on Twitter, or not Twitter, Instagram at Pieguy9871 for the updates on the show, timing. If next week's show might be an early afternoon show because I have to travel. But all the you can watch the replay at 6 or whenever you want to watch the replay, of course, available on YouTube at Pieguy9871. All right, best bet time. It's not going to be the Dolphins. I would have worn the jersey. I have it here. We'll see it. Maybe I'll wear it next week if they can get a win, because it might be their only win of the season. Best bet. Well, it was an under last week, and it didn't really work. Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I'm a little nervous about the line, but I think it's the battle of the horses here. Hopefully the Broncos don't end up as glue in Indianapolis, because I think the best bet here, Denver Broncos money line -120, still lots of -120s available. Why lay a point and a half for 10 cents here? I'm going to take the money line here. I think the Broncos get it done here. I think the Colts took advantage of a clown show dysfunction in Miami, and so Denver Broncos for me. And I think the Denver Broncos are just a little bit rusty. Got 4 turnovers, and they still won by 8 against a bad team. But that shows that they have the talent, they have the coaching, they have the players to overcome bad things happening. So I think it was a little bit of a fluke that that game was as close as it was, and Miami's. Like I said, the Colts took advantage of a dysfunctional Miami team with no corners. Broncos have corners. Give me the Broncos. Pie Guys picking best bet. Broncos money line -120. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks Johnny and Jason in the chat. And we will see you all next week for another edition of Pie Guys Pick'em. Goodbye.